By herself, because she dropped the children off at the New Canaan Country Day School.
And the children did come with Lauren to New York that day to your apartment?
Yes.
Were they there at about 12 or 1 in the afternoon?
I'd say about 12 or 1, yes.
Did you reach out by telephone to Jennifer the day before she came to New York?
Objection.
Ground.
Outside the scope, Your Honor.
On Thursday, nearly 4 years after Connecticut mother Jennifer Farber Dulas vanished after dropping her 5 children off at school, the trial of the woman accused of helping her estranged husband cover up her mysterious thing began with grisly video of bloodstains in her garage. Jurors in the trial of Michelle Troconis, 49, at Stamford Superior Court in Stamford, Connecticut, viewed police body cam footage allegedly showing visible blood spatter on the grille of a Range Rover that was parked in the middle bay of the 3-car garage inside Farber Dulas's spacious New Canaan Colonial on May 24, 2019, the day she vanished. The footage also showed what seemed to be blood on the concrete floor of the garage and a partial bloody footprint. Michelle Troconis is charged with conspiracy to commit murder in connection with the disappearance and death of Farber Dulas, 50, who police believe was attacked in her garage by her estranged husband, Fotis Dulas, 52. Her body has never been found. She was declared officially deceased in October by a probate judge. Troconis, who was in a relationship with Fotis Dulas, while he was embroiled in a bitter divorce and custody battle with his estranged wife, is also charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to tamper with physical evidence, 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence, and second-degree hindering prosecution. She pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Cases against Michelle Troconis and Kent Mawhinney continued. Michelle's attorneys have argued that her lack of English language fluency can explain much of what police investigators claimed were suspiciously changing narratives. Her responses varied because her comprehension did. In pre-trial, Michelle was granted a translator to follow the proceedings.
Which is a change from the other times she's been here.
I believe, I'll just say this, Your Honor, although there may be some hint of cynicism in that statement. Ms. Troconis, her first language is not English, although I can communicate with her in English. I also communicate with her in Spanish, which I speak. And if we're going to do anything more technical than just stand in front of the court and enter pleas or whatnot, I felt it was better for purposes of this case that she have the assistance of an interpreter.
Michelle's defense has further argued that the traffic video of the dump trip does not show Michelle doing anything at all. At one point, she leaned from the truck and rubbed her hand on the sidewalk, but she is never shown disposing of anything. She has an uncontested alibi covering the morning of the 24th itself. Her legal team has also stated that any DNA linking her to items involved in the alleged cover-up have been embellished. And they may also have new evidence. John Shinhorn, Michelle's attorney, has stated that DNA from a sweatshirt thought to be linked to the suspicious cyclist apparently did not match Fotis Dulas, a fact that throws a wrench into the state's theory of the crime. The lawyer has not stated how he acquired the sweatshirt. However, it was found to carry a hair of the 4th and largely forgotten person of interest, Powell Gummany. The assertion by Michelle's defense is that Powell, not Fotis, was the cyclist in the photo, and indeed, it was his truck captured near Jennifer's Suburban.
Also raises the issue, I have filed now 2 motions to dismiss. There are several motions to suppress. Let me be clear, if it's not clear, I've alleged in those motions that the warrants themselves contain outright falsehoods, reckless disregards of the truth, and important and material omissions.
Actual accuracy of that will have to await a determination by one of my colleagues, but it's not that you are bereft of information, is it?
Well, I'm bereft of evidence that would be admissible in court. I submit that what Kimball wrote in those warrants is mostly theory, speculation. It might be evidence admissible against Mr. Dulas if he was still a defendant in a case.
Motions to dismiss the charges against Michelle have been unsuccessful. Most recently, her team has been with his ankle monitor. He allegedly severed the strap, but the 2 wires that track location were still intact. Kent remained in custody until December 2022. when his bond was reduced back down. Kent, like Michelle, has pleaded not guilty to the conspiracy charges. However, he is expected to testify against Michelle Troconis in her pending trial. Reports state that Kent is expected to testify that he overheard Michelle and Fotis planning the murder, and then again in a subsequent conversation, he overheard the words, "We did it." The 5 Dulos children have been in the custody of Jennifer's mother Gloria in Manhattan since the day she disappeared. Writing back in 2012, when her youngest was still a baby, Jennifer wrote in her blog about the trials of motherhood and the impact on her sleep. She wrote that she and her daughter always slept better when Fotis was out of town. She closed the anecdote by addressing her child. "I know that this too shall pass, but I fear I may be in a body bag by then. Love, your mom." And that was the tragic case so far of the disappearance of Jennifer Farber Dulos. Thanks for watching. I'm Kevin. This is Just Thought Lounge, and I'll see you in the next one. There's a reasonable explanation for the existence of the alibi scripts. According to Michelle, Fotis spoke with his family attorney in the days immediately following Jennifer's disappearance. He was instructed to record a detailed timeline of his actions from the last time that he saw his wife. Counsel advised him to record all details at that time that he could remember. Whether he entered the house when dropping off the children, which rooms did he enter, what items might he have touched. This may have explained why
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Fotis produced otherwise suspicious documents, but it does not explain Michelle's changing story, one which continued to vary from one account to the next over 2 more voluntarily offered interviews with investigators. Nor does it account for why activities in the alibi scripts attributed to Michelle never happened. They were part recollection and part fabrication. Michelle did have a verifiable alibi for the morning Jennifer disappeared. She visited 2 friends at 2 different addresses, as well as photographed herself outside of a Stop and Shop. The reason for taking this photograph is unclear, but it is timestamped and verifiable. There was one fact central to the case that Michelle could not keep straight. Where had Fotis been on the morning of May 24th? At first, she could recall seeing him, then she couldn't. She saw him at home, then in the next interview, it was at the 4-group office. Then, finally, after repeated questioning by police, Michelle admitted to seeing Fotis' cell phone that morning, but not Fotis himself. Michelle eventually admitted Fotis was obviously not in the house that morning. He did return in the afternoon. Michelle told police that she spent that afternoon cleaning the Farmington house in preparation for a meeting that Fotis claimed to have with a client the next morning. She said she was largely unaware and uninterested in what Fotis was up to elsewhere on the property during that time. At one point, Fotis asked her for some paper towels to help clean up a stain he had made inside a friend's truck. This was a 2001 Toyota Tacoma red pickup truck, a truck he had borrowed that day from a friend and employee from 4-group, a man named Powell Gummany. This truck was of particular interest to investigators since it matched exactly the vehicle captured on camera parked only feet from Jennifer's abandoned Suburban. Michelle assisted in the cleaning of Powell's vehicle later that day by handing her boyfriend some paper towels. When he handed it back, the towel was dirtied with a dark stain, a stain that Michelle could not verify had actually been coffee. The implication, according to police, was that Michelle was assisting in the cleanup of a vehicle used in the crime. The stain wasn't coffee, they said. Luminol testing of the truck returned indications of blood.
I got problems with them chewing gum in court. These female defendants. Like, are you joking? It's Michelle Troconis. You can see her extensions. But look at her. She's chewing gum. There she is. And just gonna chew gum. Look at it. There's no fucking gum chewing in court. It's like chewing gum in class. You know, you get busted for it. Spit it out.
by the jury foreperson. Your Honor, the jury has reached a unanimous verdict for all 6 counts.
Is she guilty or not guilty of the first count of the information charging the defendant with conspiracy to commit murder in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A, 48A, and 53A-54A, subsection A?
Guilty.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson? Is she guilty or not guilty on the second count of the information to the charge of conspiracy to commit tampering with physical evidence in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A-155, subsection A, subsection 1?
Guilty.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson? Is she guilty or not guilty on the third count of the information to the charge of tampering with physical evidence in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A-8, subsection A?
Guilty.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson? Is she guilty or not guilty on the fourth count of the information to the charge of conspiracy to commit tampering with physical evidence in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A-48, subsection A, and 53A-155, subsection A, subsection 1?
Guilty.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson? Is she guilty or not guilty on the fifth count of the information to the charge of tampering with physical evidence in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A-8, subsection A?
Guilty.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson? Is she guilty or not guilty on the fifth count of the information to the charge of hindering prosecution in the second degree in violation of Connecticut General Statutes, Section 53A-165, subsection A, subsection 3, and 53A-166?
Guilty.
Michelle Troconis is found guilty in disappearance of Connecticut mother Jennifer Dulos. Michelle Troconis was convicted on all counts Friday in the murder of Jennifer Dulos, nearly 5 years after the Connecticut mother of 5 went missing. After deliberating for about 14 hours, the jury of 3 men and 3 women found Troconis guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, tampering with evidence, and hindering the prosecution. Specifically, the jury found that she conspired with Fotis Dulos to murder his estranged wife, lied to provide an alibi for him, and helped him dispose of bloody evidence. Troconis hung her head and started to sob, with her parents and sisters sitting directly behind her in the courtroom. As soon as the final verdict was read, she dropped into her chair and put her head down on the table.
The trial of Michelle Troconis is nearing its end, and over the last couple of weeks, the jury has heard from dozens of witnesses and seen mountains of evidence. So what happens next as we enter the final few weeks? News's Eva Zamaris has been covering this case the past 4.5 years, and now the trial, and breaks it down for us tonight.
It's been more than 1 month since the trial of Michelle Troconis began. Over these last 5 weeks, the state's presented its case, but soon it will be up to her defense team to do the same.
The defendant shall have the right to cross-examine, bring in their own witnesses, subpoena witnesses, and have counsel for their defense.
As we've learned through court, memory will be a significant component of the defense, focusing on what Troconis knew or remembered from the time Jennifer Farber Dulos went missing on May 24th, 2019.
If this is just a matter of slipped memory and not willful failure to disclose information, that's a substantial slice of the defense.
During her trial on Friday, Troconis' defense attorney John Schoenhorn said he's planning to call 2 professors as expert witnesses to speak about how things like sleep deprivation, stress, and speaking more than one language can have an impact. Investigators believe there were inconsistencies in her interviews with the police as she recalled what happened on and around that day.
Everything this has been like very shocking to me. I understand that. And like when we spoke 2 months ago, I mean, I was like completely in shock. I've been really working hard with family to try to figure out and bring my memory back.
Here's a look at what will happen next. The state's expected to rest on Tuesday, followed by motions in the defense's case on Wednesday. Schoenhorn expects they'll wrap their defense by Monday. We spoke with former prosecutor Ryan McGuigan about this final push.
And they won't be able to say what was in Ms. Troconis's mind. They'll just be able to say that generally with any normal human being, any reasonable person, it's reasonable that you could have forgotten certain things. It's reasonable that you could have, if English is not your first language, that you could have been tripped up by the police.
Troconis has been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, tampering with evidence, and hindering prosecution in connection to the death and disappearance of Farber Dulos. But she's denied any involvement or knowledge from the start. The big question remains, will Troconis testify? Her defense team hasn't said, but her attorney has said previously. Her interviews where she maintains that she didn't know anything speak for themselves. Eva Zamaris, News 8.
Today we are here devastated because has been a tremendous injustice in the trial of my daughter. She's innocent, and we will keep proving that.
This is definitely a devastating day because my sister is innocent of all the charges that she was convicted of. And we are certain that she is innocent. And I know that only time will prove it to you guys. I know that everyone wanted answers. I know that maybe the state is happy that they finally convicted her or someone is paying for the price, but she's not the right one. We still don't know what happened to Jennifer. We're all mothers, and we all love, as you can see, Michelle has been supported by us, her family and friends from day one, and we continue standing here because we too care to know the truth of what happened to Jennifer, but we don't know what happened to Jennifer. We will appeal, and we will not stop fighting for her justice. I'm the mother. I'm devastated, and she's innocent, and I know that. My heart knows that. She doesn't have anything to do. And the misery will continue because to put her in jail it's not that, oh, Jennifer appeared. No, nobody still knows what happened to her. But she's not the one that knows. She never knew. She's innocent. Okay, you, probably the moms out here know. My sister doesn't know what happened to Jennifer. We want to know. We pray every night for the 5 children. I met them. I know them. They are beautiful kids. So is my niece. My sister's innocent. And this is wrong. This wasn't a fair trial from day one. Wasn't a fair trial. And you all know that because you are parents. You are moms. You are grandparents. Please.
This is devastating. And I said since the first time, this is a tragedy for all the families involved and for all our children too.
Theory that Michelle had a number of fires going the day Jennifer Farber Dulos.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.